Trump pawn, not porn, Trump pawn shops and egg prices. Those are two indicators of where we are with this economy based on the new data that just came out with pawn shop loans are up now across the board in thousands of pawn shops as people go in to get $200 and $300 on average loans just to make ends meet in this economy. And what are they doing in terms of interest rates? They're paying up to 300% a year on interest rates just to make ends meet. Donald Trump's economy, based on the numbers we just saw, with the worst price increase in more than 4 years, the worst consumer confidence numbers since 1980, a GDP showing our economic engine is running in reverse, wages down and flat. You put all that together, and what do you get? You get a suffering in America that this administration doesn't recognize. And they think they're going to wallpaper over by having one of their propagandists like Kush Desai, a press secretary, or to send out one of their economic advisors, Kevin Hassett, to tell America that, yes, everything is up. The world is on fire. We're in the middle of oil and natural gas sticker shock, but eggs are cheaper. Oh, I'm not kidding. It was so bad that even the sort of foxy reporter on the other side was like, that's the best you got? Egg prices are down when everything else is on fire? I'm Michael Popok. You're on the MeidasTouch Network. I'm putting on my Wall Street hat. I worked on Wall Street for a number of years. I know how brokers and traders think. I know how financial services markets think. And I'm going to give you my best perspective here. Top line, here's the numbers. We've got the Consumer Confidence Index dropped 6 points, its steepest drop since 1980, with inflation and Iran war and gas prices on everybody's mind. Gas prices since February 28th, when we declared war on Iran, has gone up 21%. That's effectively a 21% tax that Donald Trump has put in a regressive way against people who can least afford it at the gas pump. And fuel literally fuels our economy. If you can't afford to make ends meet, you got to go take a pawn shop loan out in order to do it, right? The little underbelly of American society. I'm not blaming the people that are forced to do it, but there are predatory loaning practices going on there. If that's what you need to do, it is effectively a 21% tax on you because you have to come up with 21% more money to pay for your gas. And the fuel line between you and the economy just got cut because you're not going to spend as much in disposable income because you don't have as much disposable income. And that's a driver for our economy, right? Consumerism. Who can afford to be a consumer? You're just trying to make ends meet. So consumer confidence, which measures how the person feels the economy is doing, how they're experiencing the economy, is at its worst numbers ever. In fact, when people were polled, they, like economists, believe the same thing, that prices are going to rise even beyond the 3.3% number that just got posted in price increases to we think it's going to be 4.8% in the next year. And if you think the March numbers are bad, okay, wait till you see the April numbers, because Donald Trump's effectively destruction of the energy markets is not going to be solved overnight, even by a ceasefire, if even a ceasefire was possible. As I said 3 weeks ago, this war is not going to end when Donald Trump says it's going to end. It's going to end when the Iranians say it's going to end. And they're not going to let it end until they get a toll of a couple of $1 million on every freighter of oil or gas that passes through the Strait of Hormuz. And instead of 135 or 140 freighters passing through the Strait of Hormuz in and out, keeping the oil markets and natural gas markets lubricated, you know how many went out yesterday? Six. And they paid a toll, more money to Iran in hard dollars. Okay? That Rubik Cube of the Hormuz Strait can't be solved with chest beating and threats and genocidal rantings. It's geopolitical, economic negotiations and diplomacy that will maybe get it open again. And even if it gets open again now, all of the players, all of the stakeholders in and around the Strait of Hormuz have already taken steps to protect themselves. See, oil and gas doesn't move through the strait without insurance companies like Lloyd's of London ensuring the safe passage of that material at a cost. Unless freighters and freight companies are willing to actually navigate through that without the risk that they're going to be seized or blown up. And that's not easily resolved over a ceasefire that seems to be further away than closer to us now. And the impact now, you think 21% gas price increase is bad? Wait till you see another 30% or 40% as gas ticks up to $6 a gallon. Now, what's the best that Donald Trump can say about an economy who's being wrecked right now with this backhanded gas tax on Americans? You know, we're not getting any of the checks. Remember those 1776 checks we were going to get? Nobody got a check from this government. We're just getting taxed to death. This is what Kush Desai, whoever that is, a press secretary, had to say about these terrible, terrible numbers, and then we'll get to egg prices. President Trump has always been clear about short-term disruptions as a result of Operation Epic Fury, disruptions that the administration has been diligently working to mitigate. We're not feeling it. Although gas and energy prices are seeing volatility, prices of eggs and beef and prescription drugs are stable or falling ever so slightly. Don't try to sell me on, you can't afford your health care, you can't afford your groceries, you can't afford to feed or clothe your family. Just eat more eggs. As the administration ensures the free flow of energy through the Strait of Hormuz, how is that being ensured? The American economy remains on a solid trajectory. Yeah, bullshit. Let's go to Kevin Hassett, who came in second to be the Federal Reserve Chair for Donald Trump, showing up on MAGA television, financial news, to try to say, yeah, things are terrible, but egg prices are down. See how that went. Even on the show itself. Play the clip.
3.3% rise in consumer prices in the last 12 months. That's a fairly sharp increase. However, I'm sure you're going to find some comfort in the core rate of inflation, which went up only 0.2% in March.
Correct.
So you can take that as a good sign, right?
Right. Well, one of the things that would have been a warning sign would have been that what we believe is a temporary energy disruption would feed through to core, driving up prices of everything. And I think that, in fact, the 0.2% core number for the month that you mentioned is actually rounded up to 0.2, which is pretty unusual. It was 0.19 something. And the thing that, when I went through the details, that really I found gratifying for White House staff who've been working so hard on affordability is that there's so many price reductions that are directly related to things that we've been working on, policies we've been pursuing. So, for example, year over year, egg prices are down 44%. You and I remember when I first came in here, one of the first jobs we had was controlling the avian flu. Well, we controlled the avian flu so much that there are hens all over the place laying eggs at a record rate with egg prices about the lowest they've ever been. Beef prices dropped a lot in this report. And don't forget that because beef prices were high, that we changed our trade policy with Argentina to allow more Argentine beef in. And that we saw a surge in Argentine beef in the month and a big reduction in beef prices. I'll just give one more. I promise not to filibuster.
Okay. Go on.
Ticket prices are down about 18%. And you remember that we had a case against Ticketmaster and Live Nation for price fixing on those sporting events. And those things are way down too. So I think our policies on affordability are starting to really reap big benefits.
That was a bit of a filibuster, but yes, you were. Whilst you were talking, we had a graphic on the screen. Put it up again, please, which showed the rise in all kinds. Have a look at it. Put it up, please.
Yeah.
All kinds of items which have gone up very significantly in the last year. Okay, now that's the last year. They're up, and those prices are reflected in the way people think about inflation. I don't think you've won the war against inflation at this point.
That's exactly right.
I'm Michael Popok, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of MeidasTouch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popok Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popok firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event, by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way. Trump pawn and egg prices. That's what we're down to here. And when you plug in all of this economic data, consumer confidence down, right direction, wrong direction, America feeling if the country's in the right direction or wrong direction under this presidency, wrong direction. Favorability for Donald Trump down in the 30s. Consumer price index, consumer prices up 3.3%, projected to be 4 and 5%. Wages flat, job creation almost non-existent. They were all excited because, we made 170,000 jobs last month, but the month before they had to revise it downward to almost zero. This economy has made under Donald Trump effectively 0 jobs in 6 months. Whereas Joe Biden and his economy, remember when he was president? 400,000 jobs month after month for every year of his administration. Every year. 4 years. Every month. We're talking 5 million jobs a year, 20 million jobs. Against them celebrating over, we had a great month, 170,000 jobs. I wasn't a math major, but I know that I know the difference between 20 million and 175,000. And I know you do too. So it's a terrible thing that you won't hear on network news or coming out of the mouth of White House people about pawn shops, 300% yearly loans being used by people. And they're pawning not just the wealthy who are pawning watches and other things of value, but guns. Well, there is a Second Amendment, guns and the rest just to make ends meet. One guy interviewed said, I had to pawn my gun because I needed to pay a vet bill for a dog or a medical bill for a loved one or put food on a table. Because the average loan for pawn shops right now is between $200 and $300. That's how people are swallowing their dignity, walking into a pawn shop and walking out with cash that they can't get from the Trump economy. And I don't just blame Trump, I blame all the Trump enablers. The Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, the head of the trade representative in Jamie Greer, the Russ Vogt, the Office of Management and Budget. These are the people that are screwing America every day. Every day. Every day. We are, and now it's up to like $3,000 to $4,000 less a year in our pocketbooks because of Donald Trump's policies. Plain and simple. I'm not talking about the mega wealthy. I'm not talking to millionaires, billionaires, and trillionaires. I'm talking about the salt of the earth, the everyday American, and how they're suffering in this economy. And no amount of propaganda coming out of the mouth of some, Treasury Secretary, Press Secretary, or Carolyn Levitt, or any of the economic advisors, just focus on egg prices is going to help matters, right? We got a pent up demand. You plug in all these data points, it all points to a tidal wave election against Donald Trump at the midterms. And all it takes is for us to vote. And no amount of changes in the rules of mail-in balloting, if that's even a thing, or voter ID, or bring your great-grandmother, or bring your family Bible, or bring some papers to show you're a citizen is going to stop people from voting. And if we have to stand in a line for 14 hours in the heat of the day, or whatever, wherever we live, without food and water, and stand on our head, and as my late mother would say, spit wooden nickels in order to vote, we're going to do it. What do you think tens of millions of people in the streets against the Trump administration means? It's not about voting. It's about voter turnout. And there's going to be a voter turnout like no one's ever seen, supported by Legal AF and the MeidasTouch Network. Till my next report, see you on Saturday for Legal AF, the podcast. I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.